The following podcast is making a strongly response nudity. Viewer discretion is advised. Thrill me.
Four guys and a movie. Four guys and a movie. Donnie, Brian, Rob, and Joe reviewing movies for the show. Four guys and a movie.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the 4 a.m. podcast, the podcast where dorks watch movies and, for 30% of the time, talk about them. I'm your host today, Rob, joined by my friends
Bullwinkle Moose.
Alfalfa Will.
Bozo the Clown.
And Spanky.
Yes.
I guess I'm just Croty Robot. Guys, this week we watched... Oh my god. I almost said Stop or My Mom Will Creep. I don't know...
Let's put this into production right now.
You almost got a soda spit all over my keyboard.
I don't even know where that came from. Oh boy, Night of the Creeps from 1980-something.
86, I think.
86 is
Oh
correct.
Man, that's the year.
This was my fault. This is my fault.
Oh, this is a Brian choice.
Brian Cox joint.
Well, let's see how it all turned out. So Brian, since this is your fault, what's your history with this movie?
So when I was a kid, all these stupid ass zombie movies would come on TV, like USA or one of them channels, whatever. And I would sit my ass down in front of the TV and I would watch them. Nice. And for some reason, this one, maybe it was the little puppets or the flamethrower, maybe it stuck out in my mind. So the other week I was like, man, I haven't watched it forever. We should watch it on the podcast. And that's how it came to be today.
All right. Joe, how about you?
I knew there was a movie with slugs. I didn't know it was called Night of the Creeps, and I never saw it. I think I've seen maybe a clip of this film. And so yeah, this was my first time watching it.
All right, Tony.
Yeah, I think I realized today, I'm not sure if I've ever actually seen this in its entirety, but I was with Brian. This is one I caught a lot on either USA Up All Night or the Sci-Fi Channel or some damn thing. And I always found it entertaining. I'd always stop and watch it.
All right. Will, how about you? Any history with this movie?
None whatsoever.
Yeah, of course not.
All right, fuck you, Tony.
Well, no, this was a movie that was forgotten before you were born, so...
I know, I'm just giving you a hard time.
That's fine.
I saw the title and I was like, oh, is this an Etruria family movie?
Burn!
Wow.
Come on.
Wow. He got his half-inch tactical folder and tried to make some deep cuts. All right. What do we got for real history?
There's not a whole lot to be found on this movie.
I am shocked.
I can't imagine.
I'm shocked.
But there are
I think a lot of the information he looked at just said redacted.
Yes. No, actually, most of it just said no one cared enough to look. No, but this was directed by Fred Decker, who, of course, we know from doing Monster Squad, which we previously covered, and RoboCop 3, which
Oh, wow.
might show up eventually
Oh, man.
if we roll one.
Is that the one where he's fighting ninja robots?
Yep.
Yep.
Oh,
With the jetpack? Yeah, it is.
It's ridiculous.
So his partner, her one condition for being in the film is that she immediately be killed.
Yep. And of course, a kid takes her place.
Sure.
A kid hacker, no less.
Oh, of course. Come on.
But yeah, so this movie was intended to be, a send up to B movies. He was obviously a big fan of them, as we get all over the place with the repeated sightings of talks about or showing Plan 9 from outer space.
Yeah.
That's... Yeah, just the fact that the characters are named after big, people in the industry. Romero, Carpenter, so on.
Corman University.
Yeah, Corman University.
There's more than one reference to the Monster Squad.
There is.
Cronenberg.
Yeah,
that's right, Cronenberg.
This is Landis, Raimi, the whole thing. And thankfully, I was happy because I totally forgot about this. Dick Miller showing up as Walter Paisley, no less. So that's nice.
Huh?
Dick Miller, if you're not aware,
Mr. Futterman.
Yeah, he's Mr. Futterman.
Oh,
the Gremlin.
yeah, okay.
But he famously, like early in his career, he played Walter Paisley in Bucket of Blood, I think it was called. Which he then, like numerous B movies since then, has had him show up as that same character, including Chopping Mall.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh wow. I didn't know
okay.
yeah.
that.
When he's the janitor in that, they say, the guys go, "Oh, come on, Walter," or whatever. So again, obviously Walter Paisley kind of carrying the tradition there.
Guys had a lot of jobs.
Was his
Yeah.
first name Walter when he played Mr. Futterman?
No, unfortunately,
Murray
Gremlins?
Futterman.
Oh, Murray?
Yes.
Oh.
I don't know why I remember that character.
because he's very memorable. All right,
Yeah.
but the most interesting thing about this is back when he was first working on this script, his at the time roommate Shane Black
Ugh.
was working on some scripts with him. They came up with one that was totally different than this, but was also about a zombie kind of apocalypse deal where it was like a bunch of soldiers that get sent in and to like behind enemy lines or whatever, and then they die, and then there's the zombie apocalypse, and then they re-rise and try and take over the
Let me
city
guess.
again.
They cook up some crazy story and throw them all in the meat grinder.
Sure, I don't know, but they wanted, or there was talks to, I don't know how far they got with this, but the idea was it would be directed by John Carpenter, it would star Kurt Russell, and I want this movie to be made. Apparently the script is online somewhere, so you can find it, but also, just in case you totally missed that little connection there, if they had gotten together, they would in fact be Black and Decker.
Boy.
So, if you want to guess,
Oh wow.
and also,
$5.
also, I will throw out just, for this next part, this movie was not super well received at first. It did get a cult following eventually, but it took a while. So, do you want to guess how much it cost to make this movie?
I said $5, and I'm sticking with $5.
2 million.
I'm gonna say, because they're those sweet alien puppets in the beginning.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna say,
Naked babies?
I'm gonna say $1 million.
I'm gonna 3 million it. Only because they won a supermarket sweepstakes in a prop shop to get some of those zombie costumes
All right.
and the alien costumes.
Good call, because the actual total was $4 million.
Wow.
Anyone want to guess how much money this movie made?
It did not.
I'm going to say $6 million.
Some lint, pocket lint.
I'm gonna stick with 3 million, and at least one person spit a roll of quarters into another person's mouth.
I will say $4 million.
$1.
Well, $1 or pocket lint. I was gonna have to give it to Will. It made 500,000,
Oh
my God.
Dear God.
I'm sorry.
That,
almost 600,000.
Okay, all right. Well,
that's like
that's respectable.
they had some shitty distribution.
Oh yeah, this did not do well.
But those were some hotly contested numbers. Like, we all knew they were going to be low.
Yeah.
There was actually some strategy in that guess the budget game.
Oh yeah, this was a game of how low can you go.
Yep.
And Will won it with $1.
And some pocket lint.
So,
Pocket lint.
so want to talk about that cast list?
Sorry, I was petting my dog.
No, that's.
Um,
I expected
sure.
Rob to chime in here. I think he fell asleep.
Sorry, what
Yeah.
was that?
one could expect a host, to transition us between segments.
That's fine.
You know what, though? I was putting in my drink order.
That is more important. So we have Jason Lively as Chris, Steve Marshall as JC, Jill Whitlow as Cynthia, Tom Atkins as Ray Cameron, Wally Taylor as Detective Landis, Bruce Solomon as Sergeant Raimi, and Alan Kaiser as Brad, the Bradster.
The Bradster.
Oh, the Bradster.
Mako Dralfoy. So this movie starts out ridiculous.
It ends that way too.
Yeah, well, so you get
So, yes.
really lame creeping letters in a title card where you're like, I mean, you know what the movie's called, so you're like, what else could this possibly spell? But like, they
It does
don't.
take a long ass time.
Yeah, they don't do it in any kind of compelling way where you're like, oh, there go the letters flying in, cool. It's like, no,
But that's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So then
What I'm talking about is unacceptable.
Yeah. I'm like, we're sort of in a sewer, we're sort of not. You get anticipation for just long enough trying to figure out where you are to be totally flabbergasted by what whips around a corner.
I literally took a bite of my burger and looked up and I was like, oh, there's goblins on the screen.
Yeah, I had literally said to my wife, oh, I hope this one is better than the other zombie movie I watched. And we both looked up at the screen and saw giant naked baby puppets, and I was like, well, okay.
And
And you knew right there, there's no coming back from that.
No.
You just had champagne flutes out of nowhere in your hands. You were like, yes!
Can I tell you about my nightmare last night?
Oh no. I mean, yes.
By probing you?
Not an actual nightmare yet, but I got in late from work, and I still had to watch this movie, and I had to get up early this morning to go to work. Or so I thought, whatever. So I was trying to cram this movie in. So I tried to play it. I got about, I think it was about 2 minutes or so, right at the moment an ugly naked baby with a giant canister started running down a hallway.
All right.
When it would freeze. And it did that 7 times. I could not get it to go past that point. So numerous times I had my screen stuck with this horrible naked pug baby alien thing.
Like the movie would freeze itself, or just your computer would freeze?
It wasn't my computer. I'm not sure if it was the player or the streaming or what the issue was, but yeah, it froze up on me 7 different times. So I'm like trying to pay attention to it, also like wishing I could get some sleep, but I had to keep fucking with my computer because it would just go, yeah, here's an ugly baby for you. Hold on that for a couple minutes.
Yeah, so I saw these, and I'm like, are these the creeps? Like, if until the one came around the corner with the ray gun, with the combination of the setting and the ugly baby goblin puppet, I'm like, I can't tell if these are monsters or aliens or what's even happening.
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
They're just gross, really bad costumes.
Yeah. And it doesn't help that the first one you see, like, you don't realize at the time, but it's already infected with a face slug. So, like, it looks even worse than these things are supposed to look. And it runs down a hallway and locks one of those sci-fi disc doors. And the aliens that are not infected talk to each other in the least helpful subtitles ever.
Oh, yeah.
They're just in alien characters. So it makes like a mouth fart of a noise. And then you see that it said something at the screen. It's speaking a language. That's all the subtitles tell you.
That's all you need to know.
It's really all you need to know, yeah. And this face sluggy alien shoves the canister it's carrying into an ejector chute and launches it out into space. And then say goodbye to those aliens, because you're going to forget they're there, because you're not seeing them again.
What's funny is, like, I remember not seeing the start of this movie for a long time as a kid, and so the end always was weird to me.
Yep.
Like, but then when I did finally see the beginning, I'm like, oh, that was them. Okay, like,
And you were like, not worth it.
yeah, like, it was.
They're there for like 30 seconds. It's probably a good 30% of the effects budget just on these stupid goblin costumes.
And the ray gun blast.
And the ray gun blast. And you're just like, what? Why did it? Why?
Well, prepare yourself, because it's the effects like these that carry the whole movie.
Oh, dear. All right, so we cut to 1959. You can tell because it's black and white. We're at Sorority Row, and we hear a radio message that someone's broken out of the Institute for the Criminally Insane. But that person turns that off because he's like, I gotta go get laid. I gotta go pick up Pam, throw rocks at her window.
This dude looks like Brian Regan, by the way. Did anybody else think that?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. And so this chick's watching Plan 9 from outer space, decides, as she should, to like go out with generic-looking 50s man rather than watch the movie.
I was glad it didn't stay like this because I could not tell anyone apart.
Yep.
I mean,
Same.
it didn't really get better for me once.
Well, I mean, you got Crypto Kid.
Also,
Yeah.
good news, because it almost was all in black and white.
Yeah. So the couple goes to Lover's Lane, and then this awkward-looking cop shows up and is like, Pam, you need to go home.
So the weird part, though, is like that cop and Pam were dating before, and she had just dumped him.
Yep.
And this is like her rebound with this new guy, and he's like catches them. It's like, oh, I'm so sad now.
Here's the thing, from my
Make out
understanding,
point.
the 50s was a weird time when you didn't, where if you weren't going steady, you would just go out with a bunch of guys.
Get banged at the make-up point.
Well, yes, and get banged at makeup.
That happens now.
Yeah, that's still how things
I mean,
work.
It's called dating, Rob.
oh, is that what it is? No,
It
but I mean,
doesn't
like,
mean if you're not, if you're some poor loser who really likes a girl, you won't be upset if you see her with somebody else.
yeah, well, all right, shut up.
All right,
Explain
so
dating to me.
It's called dating.
I've had a date before.
Once.
My wife is shaking her head no.
no. So this meteor crashes down in the sky, and Johnny here is like, let's go after it, and drives the car after it. Pam's like, Johnny, this place gives me the creeps. And like, fuck you with your titular line. Not
Speaking
even
of
the
titular.
That's coming up. So Johnny's like, white dude, horror movie, I'm going off in the woods to die. And Pam's like, all right, I'll stay here and get killed.
No, she's like, listen, if you come back, you can fondle my breasts.
Yes.
She does say that.
Yep.
She does say
Yep.
that.
I'm like,
So let him
man,
do
that
it.
sounds enticing.
She really wants to leave.
I mean, Johnny, he's like, I was gonna do that shit anyway, regardless of what you said. Like, so he
Now,
goes.
if you come back, you may use your penis against me.
Yeah.
But true.
So,
Over the pants only.
mhm.
Oh, sweetie, for several more years we'll be using our penis against you.
A wild vagina appears.
Yeah.
Johnny uses penis. It's not very effective.
All right. So we see that there's an inmate with an axe that killed 4 people and broke out of the asylum. And surprise, surprise, he's coming up on Pam. And then Johnny's like, nope, I gotta go find this weird, creepy canister. And
There might be Ninja Turtles in those woods, man.
fucking,
Yep.
it just launches some gack in his mouth. And you're like, all right, I'll let you do that once, movie. You get one of
Nope.
those. Movie's like, you give me an inch, I'm taking a mile.
The movie's like, I'm sorry, buddy, this is what it's about.
Yeah. I'm like, I was willing to accept that effect once.
Avert your eyes, viewer.
Yeah. So,
what effect, Joe? You mean like throwing it in reverse and pulling a slug out your mouth?
Yeah.
yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Not even pulling it out. They spit it out. They clearly
Yeah.
spit the damn thing out, and they just play it in reverse.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times they're probably just looking down at the camera so gravity takes it out of their mouth.
Oh, yeah.
But like, yeah, it's clear that did not just do that. Like there's no way that just happened. But sure enough, this happens like probably 20 times in the movie. So meanwhile, this guy sneaks up on Pam and asks her a question.
Chops the
And-
shit out of her.
Yep. And it cuts to Pledge Week 1986. Everything's covered in toilet paper.
It's awful.
Cut to a bunch of college kids who were probably too old to be in college, not acting like college kids.
Then Jimmy and Timmy
Like
show
you
up.
do.
Yeah. Like, I mean, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. So yeah, we meet Chris and JC, and they're having a
They
conversation
suck.
for like 5 minutes before you see who they even are, and there's lots of like pairings of guys around. So I'm like, who's even talking? Like,
It was the
And then-
weirdest shit.
yeah, when they show up on the screen, I'm like, God damn it, it's these two. Can we pick anybody else in this crowd?
You don't
So
like,
it's
you don't like
some-
Rusty too?
Well, I don't like that his eyes look like they're trying to escape his face, but they can't choose which direction they're going to run.
No,
Yeah.
it's Rusty from National Lampoons.
Oh, is it?
It's
I
the
haven't seen
second
that.
one.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
I couldn't.
that's
See,
the only thing I could place him from, because I was like,
I
that
thought
face
of
is
him-
so familiar.
as young Walter Peck, even though it's clearly a different actor, but I'm like, this is that guy who plays Walter Peck, or the dude who got his house filled with popcorn. Like, just him when he was a college kid.
Also, are they supposed to be like Jesus?
What?
Well, his name is Chris. The other guy's name is JC.
Uh-huh.
No,
They're all-
it's John
they're-
Carpenter.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, because they're always like, well, am I breaking a commandment? Also,
Yeah.
did anybody catch that Striper shout out in the bathroom?
Yes.
Yep.
And Monster Squad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Monster Squad stuck out more. Apparently, I forget, somebody involved in this movie was dating one of the members of Stryper at the time. So
Okay. All right.
So yeah, and Chris is named after horror icon Christopher Columbus.
Chris Angel, obviously. Yes. Are you waiting for the rim shot, Joe? What's going on?
Yeah. All right. So,
All right.
well,
we
so
get to, like,
I
this-
referred to Chris before I got his name. I just referred to him as Default Man because I'm like, this is just the guy that's always the hero in this movie.
Hero is a loose term.
Yeah.
The guy who's
Yeah.
always the protagonist in this movie.
yeah.
The guy who, yeah.
I'm sorry, Brian, I cut you off.
No, like this whole like next segment is like, oh, I see a girl I like, but I don't want to go talk to her. And his best friend's like, I'll go talk to her for you. Just like do some after I'm done. And he's like, oh, well, I'm just gonna shy away, and not do anything anyway. And so you wasting your whole time and scene. Like that's all
Yeah.
that's it.
Chris
I
is
thought-
the most flaccid dick of a protagonist you could
Yeah.
ever imagine.
I thought they were going to do kind of something unexpected, which, probably get my hopes up for a movie like that. But that they would, like, turn and make JC the protagonist. Like, I didn't really
Yeah.
like his character, but I thought that would have been a cool
Yeah, that would have
change
been.
to make a person with disabilities be the
Listen.
main character.
But at this time, having someone with disabilities be in here and not just be a joke is a big thing. This was in 1986, so
Yeah, I gotta say, JC, like, as annoying as a lot of his attempts at humor are, is a pretty decent dude, and I like
yeah.
a lot of the things he has to say. I like.
He is
Like, he's
kind
like-
of a cool character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah,
Except
fuck
for
that
when he
guy.
takes it too far.
He needs to mature a little, and he'd be
Yeah.
okay.
So anyway, Chris is like, I got it. All right. Rather than talk to this girl that you made ground with, you even distracted her unibrow-clad boyfriend. Let's go join a frat, because that way we can talk to her then. And so
Yep.
he meets Brad, the Bradster, and the other frat guys. And I gotta say, the guy who was rocking almost ultra mullet and just the slightest shadow of a mustache was looking fucking harsh.
Yeah.
I didn't
I
catch
think
him. apparently.
he had on the blue tuxedo at the end of the movie. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right.
All those guys are members of the alt-right now.
Yeah, you saw that and you're like, oh, this dude is killing someone later.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know who he is or who he will become, but he's working for some wrestling federation right
Yeah.
now.
He is not wearing a mask inside your place of business.
Well, that too.
Yeah.
He's shuffling around an
He has
auditorium in
shared the
Oklahoma.
pandemic video on
Yeah.
on Facebook.
So,
The liars.
so let's see. So now, where are we going? So they're going to go pledge, and the frat wants them to perform some kind of initiation. They didn't specify what. So then, as they walk away, Brad reveals that he has no intention of letting them in the frat. It would just be cool if they did their initiation. And it turns out Cynthia Cronenberg, the main girl, is this frat guy's boyfriend. Brad.
Oh my gosh. I never would have seen that coming.
Nope. Surprise, surprise. All right, so it cuts to the science lab, and this guy he's been in a ton of movies. I forget his name, though.
Walter Dorkman.
Walter Dorkman. He can't remember his code to get into the fucking lab. So he's like, I'm gonna punch in all but the last number of the code and then leave. And I'm not even gonna take a guess. And so he leaves to go like get a payphone to call and his roommate to get this last number. And I guess they just let grad students into the secret evil laboratory.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Don't forget, Joe. Grad students do all the work on that stuff,
that is true. Yeah.
and then the professor takes all the credit.
Yeah, that evil professor who we don't even see, he couldn't be bothered to, do the work for his evil plan himself. So again, this is one of those movies where if there was a cell phone, nothing would have happened because he would have just called his roommate from here.
Yep.
But yeah, Chris and JC sneak up to. They're sneaking around the medical lab. They find this room. JC just touches 0 and it opens the door. And so they find him.
Called to it.
Yeah. So they find Johnny in cryogenic stasis, and they see
Here's
like
where I no longer any good graces JC had gotten with me, even though he's still kind of an annoying like dick, whatever.
Yeah.
Like it was all gone now. Like this dude,
Yeah.
he just ruins it.
he's literally a button pusher. Yeah.
He is, but I think that's because he's such a free spirit, guys.
He's like cryogenic stasis. Someone labeled the console that I'm just gonna push buttons and hit switches.
He's like, listen, I can't walk. I'm gonna
Yeah.
do whatever the hell I want. I don't care. Whatever. I'll talk to girls.
So he came there for a cadaver. He saw a cadaver. He's like, I'm gonna get it.
It
But
turns
here's
out,
what's more fucked up.
Mhm.
Like they recognize what stasis is because they
Yeah.
even talk about it, right? So
Mhm.
there's a live person frozen in there. He's like, let me just turn it off. Just
Yeah.
fucking turn it off.
So
No, whoa. Hold on. Let's not forget. We're skipping over the fact that clearly Tony Todd was hiding in the shadows and he was orchestrating this kid's death from the get-go. Okay, that's what's happening here. This is some Final Destination shit.
yeah,
The scientist
so,
just
Slugs.
happens to leave. He just happens to hit the right button. Come on.
so now Chris like goes to start carrying this guy who's like way too heavy, and then the guy grabs Chris's wrist. So Chris and JC run, and the lab tech shows up, and Chris and JC, I put in my notes, run for it with run in quotations, because like I think JC with his crutches is actually escaping faster than Chris. Who
we'll revisit that later when
Yeah.
Chris breaks the lock off of the shed.
Yeah. There's very few people in this world that I could say with confidence that I could outrun. And I think I could outrun Chris. He was not moving quick to escape here.
And also, just since we skipped past it real quick, David Paymer is the actor here as the cryogenesis.
He's been in a ton of stuff. Like,
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
he's like in everything.
His shit.
So they get back to the dorm, and Chris is a pissy pants. JC's like, you know what? Fuck you, all right? I did everything for you tonight. I tried to get you that girl. He's like, you're like, no, let's go join a frat instead. I was like, you know what? Sure, why not? Let's go join the frat. They're like, go steal a dead body. He's like, sure, why not? We'll go get a dead body that I found and I got out of the stasis. And then Chris is just like, you know what? Fuck you. And then they debate fucking, and then they decide to have a pillow fight before the screen fades away, so you don't see how it ends.
Their dorm room looked pretty cool.
Except I didn't see a bed in that dorm room.
It just looked like 2 couches.
I'm pretty sure they're just staying on the couches.
Yeah.
Probably.
I'm not.
Well,
Yeah.
one of the couches anyway.
Yeah. So now we cut to a man in a white suit sitting on a beach drinking from a coconut. Bikini chicks walking by. Pam comes out of the water. She's looking cute. Then, nope, we cut to that same guy. Now he's a cop. Now he's watching an ugly skeleton guy hack up Pam with an axe. And he wakes up.
Now the fun begins because Tom Atkins is here.
I
Oh,
gotta
God.
say, like,
Tom Atkins.
I appreciated the way they let you know that this is the guy from earlier because they look nothing alike. Like,
not
at
all.
Oh
at
yeah.
all. Like,
So,
It's a lot of years of putting your head in that stove.
here comes Detective Cameron. And we cut to the scene of a murder because that dorky guy was indeed killed. And we see the CSI guy deploys his sandwich from his tool case, which seemed to be the only thing in the tool case.
yeah, it's important.
Oh,
Yeah.
This guy spends the rest of the movie like slightly dealing with crimes while eating. That's his role.
Yeah. So
And
my
how would that be
question
different from
is-
us?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
how
we
we
don't
deal with
solve
these
crimes.
movies.
Because I'll give him a fat chat salute if he's eating a different sandwich every time, but it's a fat chat foul if he's still working on that same sandwich throughout the whole movie.
That's
Because
true.
it's the only time you see him produce food. The rest of the time he's either chewing or like picking stuff out of his teeth or whatever.
But here's the thing. I would give him a pass if he was at all competent at his job, but
Yeah.
he is not.
No,
I feel like he's like a 4-pack-a-day sandwich guy.
like
He might.
he's definitely a fourth mealer. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, like throughout his shift, like not even counting his lunch break, he's getting 4 sandwiches down.
Yeah, well, it's a 2-sandwich lunch, and it's a sandwich on each of his 15s.
Right.
I just ate 4
plus,
burgers.
plus snacks on his smoke breaks, in addition to his 15s.
Wait, you can do that,
What?
Brian?
What?
You can have 4 burgers?
Yeah, I ate 4 burgers.
He's
How
an
many
adult-ass man.
buns
He can
did
eat
you
whatever.
have?
You could probably eat
Huh?
more.
No buns. I use it.
Oh, okay. So you didn't have burgers.
cauliflower.
Yeah.
All right.
Thins.
All right, I'm
Oh.
cutting your mic off.
Yo, it was bacon cheddar burgers.
No, it was bacon cheddar
Okay.
meat on a cauliflower.
Okay, it's bacon cheddar
bacon
burgers.
cheddar patties.
Bacon cheddar patties combined with cauliflower thins equal nothing, so it's neutral, so there's no issue.
Yeah, so I can eat 4 of them.
It's a positive and a negative.
I just feel
Zero,
like stirring
let's
shit,
move on.
Will. Why you gotta be a
I'm a
trouble
peace-
stopper?
I saw
peacemaker.
my doctor today, and he was impressed. So whatever. Fuck you guys.
Listen, we're all
Yeah,
impressed.
all right.
You're looking
Yeah.
beautiful. You're looking beautiful. I'm just saying.
Making us all look bad.
Yeah.
You are putting the rest of us to shame here.
I'm halfway
All
through
right.
this can of fake ass Pringles.
Hey, don't worry. I can
Pringles.
pretty much I can pretty much guarantee that I found every pound that Brian has lost.
Mhm. All right, so Detective Cameron over here sucks at sarcasm. He
Oh,
walks
he's the
in,
worst.
but God, does he try? He's like, he just comes in. He's like, I'm not funny at all, but I'm going to try to be sarcastic. With literally, someone says something, and he's got a sarcastic line that barely applies or doesn't apply at all. So he then throws his cigarette onto the crime scene, like you do.
Yep.
1986, I guess. And he's like supposed to be 2 bodies, and all the cops are like, "Look, man, we're just awful. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you."
What do you got? Some fingerprints? Let me just put my balls right on these, rub them around a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. The throwing his cigarette on the ground is the least of the problems that these cops are doing right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right,
this
what
is about-
evidence? What evidence didn't you guys contaminate? All right, go contaminate that.
Yeah.
He's like, corpses do not go for a walk by themselves. Cut to a pair of frozen feet walking around near the friggin' sorority house, where the Bradster, as you could tell by his license plate, drops Cindy off. And he's like, "Sorry, I'm real busy with hazing stuff tonight, so you got to go turn in early." So
Yeah,
Brad's like
yeah,
a neo-Nazi, right?
yeah.
probably.
Maybe
Yeah,
not as
if-
neo as you'd think, but
He had on that shirt later that it's got like the German like football crest on it.
I think he would be a neo-Nazi today. I think he
Yeah.
just, at the time, he just didn't know that was a thing you could do. But if it
Okay.
was, if someone told him that he could do that, he would.
He was
Either
just super
way-
arrogant.
Yeah.
Yeah, either way, he's a supreme scumbag. So
he did major in Nazi apologetics.
Yeah.
Uh,
So she goes in her sorority house. You see real quick that there's some random girls like, "Hey, can I store this jar of brains in the basement?" Like,
It was a
how
whole
the fuck
box.
would that happen? That would
Just these brains.
just be, yeah, whole box of brains.
Yeah, I mean,
she
I
just
know
had things to do. All right.
Yeah.
it's 90 pounds of lady holding what's probably 60 liters of liquid, holding
Yeah.
human brains, and she's just like teetering around, like, "Can I put these down before my arms fall off?"
And you're like, well, that's there just to foreshadow. Then she goes upstairs, and you could hear the director just being like, "Look, it's 1986. Your tits are coming out. Let's just get it over with early.
Yeah.
Do
Don't
it
worry.
really quick, and then we can move on."
Yeah,
And
It's
she's
like,
like,
watching this. I'm like, because after the last one we saw, I was like, it's been 15 minutes, no tits yet, and then like, sure enough,
Yeah.
boom.
Well,
Yeah.
it's funny because I was also thinking they had the first shot when she originally gets home and she takes off her shirt and you see in her bra and panties, and I was like, okay, so we're not going to get any nudity. All right, that's fine. But sure enough, they're like, nope, we're going back to this.
And it was like, it was unnecessary. Like,
so fast.
Yeah.
So fast is so pointless.
the scene is her putting on her nightgown, right?
Yep.
Her back's to us. and whatever. And like that's enough. But
Yeah.
like she had to turn around.
Just
Yeah.
a second.
Just long
Well,
enough to
wait.
cover.
Again, don't forget, as I mentioned before, he tried to put in every B movie cliche he could.
Yeah.
That includes pointless tits.
Yeah. So he
They were
was
pointless.
like, "Look, it's happening. Just do it real quick, and we're good. We're done."
Well, we're done with you. We'll have the shower
Yeah.
scene later.
Yeah.
Isn't it like, you get the showers? What was even the point of this?
It wasn't one. That's the
No.
thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Cause
Alright.
horror movie, Rob.
So
No.
someone's
That's
throwing
horror movie.
stones at her window, and then meanwhile you cut to this other girl who is studying in the sun porch or whatever, and someone's knocking at the door, and you're like, but wait, there's a frozen corpse outside. So is that what's at the door? No, it's Gordon the cat. Which I was happy for that jump scare because that cat was cute. First time was cute,
Yeah.
but you're like, this is foreshadowing for something awful happening to the
was
cat.
that a jump scare?
Yes.
That's what they wrote it in the script as.
Okay, but did they also write in parentheses, put in slow motion though?
I think that was probably the only way they could get it to work. Anyway,
Have the camera slowed down by like 20%, just so it looks weird and like choppy.
so now we cut back to Cindy. She looks out one window, there's nothing there. She looks out the other window, there's nothing there. Then all of a sudden, Johnny's frozen ass face with a forehead vagina pops up. He's like, ugh, and a bunch of slugs just come out of his orifices.
Well,
Yeah.
what's funny is like you don't even get to see the slugs come out. Like it cuts
Yeah.
away before they actually like use
Well,
the whole
There's
effect.
a reason for that.
So now again, Detective Cameron shows up, stops to smell the roses. Fucking the coroner's still like chewing on his sandwich, and there's a body there that like has a huge ass like slit in its head, and the coroner's like there's all the sorority girls around and stuff, and he's like, "Hey detective, look at this," and like opens up the body bag.
Yeah.
And Cameron sees that, and he's traumatized. He's like, that looks like an axe did that. And his partner is like, yo, you killed that dude. Don't worry about it. So now it's the next day. Brad confronts Chris and JC over leaving a dead body on the sorority house. And they're like, yeah, we didn't do that. And Brad's like, well, I still am a dick, and I'm going to trip the handicapped kid.
Yeah.
But at least Cynthia was there
Yep.
to see it.
To give him to deploy the old wind up middle finger.
Yeah.
Classic.
The wretched harmony has joined your party.
I appreciated the wind up middle finger. That was the only part of the scene I think that did anything for me. But yeah, now what you call it? So Cindy is part of the party now, as Rob said. She's just like, those two kids, those are where I'm going to spend the rest of the movie. And
But like, why? They all suck.
Well,
That's
yeah.
just it. They all suck.
Yeah, her
Right.
options are not very good. So
Yeah.
She sucks. They suck. The other guys suck.
Listeners, just keep in mind. Sometimes, most of the time, it's okay to just be alone. It's fine. Like, to be with nobody.
Amen to
Yeah,
that.
that's how you grow.
I'd ask the slugs if they what they're up to. Like, should I hang out with
Yeah.
you?
You could
You want
definitely-
me to throw you in someone's mouth? Yeah, I could do that.
can you like call that big weird naked baby thing?
Yeah.
'Cause
Can
he
they
seemed
kidnap
like a
me?
nice
That's
guy.
fine.
Looks like
Yeah.
it could hug you.
All right, so what you call it? So now the cop, like Detective Cameron, immediately grabs JC and Chris, and hauls them downtown. And I like this police work because they're like, this witness right here in the room with you saw you run out of the morgue.
Here's
Highly
his
respected
address.
man in the janitor community.
So, like, Detective Cameron, it is nowhere near the point where you have to disclose who your witnesses are. Like, and this witness is just like so Detective Cameron says they ran out of there screaming like banshees, and so every like minute or so, this witness is just like, because he's a Japanese janitor, so he's like screaming like banshees, and
Yeah,
then
he's laughing his
to
tits
himself.
off.
Yeah, and you're like, okay, that's not necessary.
I also, if I were them, I would have been like, yeah, exactly. How
Yeah.
did I have a body with me if I'm running out
Yeah,
like
exactly.
a banshee?
Well, that's pretty much the
Did you
track
see
they
him run
took
with the
too.
body?
Chris is
Yeah.
like, yeah, we were there. We chickened out because, just look at me, I guess. And
Yeah.
then, yeah, we were screaming and running and pooping.
So the meanwhile in the morgue, the grad student who's in mid-autopsy, he's got like a fucking surgical clamp hanging out his neck skin flaps. An actually pretty legit makeup effect.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Somehow fucking stealth this where like no cop in this movie will actually look at anything. So he just
Well, again,
gets
the
up-
dude's eating a sandwich.
Yeah.
I've now taken to the thought that this sandwich cop is actually, he's just bringing fixins with him to the crime scenes and making the sandwich there.
Yeah, and not doing his job.
No, he's got
I would argue that in some of those scenarios, he is raiding the victim's fridge.
Yeah.
that too probably, but I feel like he's probably got like a pull-out insert in the back of his police vehicle, like that's full of cold cuts. Just
Grey Poupon.
yeah,
Well, like,
basically like
he at least searches the body for snacks.
oh yeah, he's a scavenger for sure.
He is a scavenger.
Like Joe said before, like his toolbox has sandwiches in it. His police belt has a sandwich on it. Like he is prepared for sandwiches and eating at all times.
Right, which is commendable, but
So these cops in the police station are like the guards in Skyrim that would have like an arrow sticking out of their chest that you just shot them with and would be like, must have been no one. Must have been the wind.
Yeah.
And then go back to their patrol.
Yep.
As he just walks past them all, fucking stealth 100 and walks out. And he goes back to the med center where the janitor's working and just scares the janitor. Janitor comes around the corner, screams, and now the janitor has the crazy gray face. Like when the face slug gets you in this movie, you just get your face spray painted gray.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I also
white contacts too.
I don't understand like this whole kind of thing because, like you said, it stealths its way out of the police station and then gets this janitor. Why? Just get the police. There's tons of people there, and if you have them, you have a better control over this whole town.
well,
They weren't very smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
True.
And it seemed like the bodies did what they would normally do when they were alive.
Yeah, I did get some of that, so I'll give you that.
Yeah,
He rolled a natural 20 on his stealth, but he only got a 6 on his the next roll.
But yeah, even not thinking tactically, I thought it would have like gotten a bunch of the cops just because they are close.
No, they're like it's the popo and those slugs run away. I should also point out, through a lot of these scenes, there's footage of slugs running to and fro. They're clearly just like rubber slugs on wheels that someone has pulled back and like let zoom across the frame.
But they're so
I
cute.
figured they were on strings just being pulled.
Or
they
were on strings.
That could be too, but they did wiggle a lot, so I don't know. It could go either way.
If they're jiggly enough plastic, they'll just jiggle as they go over,
Yeah.
as the wheels turn. But anyway, so now this the girl in the study is studying, but first Brad is just really harsh to Cindy on the phone, so she's like, "All right, it's over," and fucking just hangs up on him. But now the girl in the study from before, like, there's more tapping at the window, so she's like, "Oh, it's Gordon the cat, awesome!"
Love
and
that
she goes, picks him up, and this cat has a lot of problems.
I mean, as long as all of the problems are relegated to the face area specifically, yes.
I would
Rob,
give it like a Bane type mask and it would be fine.
Now,
Yeah.
Rob, where does
Yes.
this fall in your love of animal puppetry?
This is pretty low, Tony, to answer your question. Because the cat is not full puppet. It's just a head animatronic, and it's not really doing anything interesting. She doesn't like throw it. We don't see it get caught in a fan blade or anything.
That's true.
oh man, if she threw it up into the ceiling fan,
It's just like a very obvious somebody's controlling this with,
It does seem to have I think it was a real live worm in its eye.
It did have
which
a worm
I
coming out of it.
appreciate
Yeah.
that.
All right, so I'm confused as to why this cat is hurt. So the slugs, maybe one slug can fit inside this cat. Why did it eat its eyes? Why is...
So I believe
Uh-huh.
that they didn't really mention it, but they did talk about I believe the cat was hit by a car, and they buried it.
Because there's one quick scene.
Oh, yeah, you are correct. I forgot about that.
But I don't think we ever see the cat get hit by a car. It's just like, casually mentioned as an aside. Like, did you tell her about the cat? No, it would break her heart. But I'm like, what? Tell her what? I don't understand. What?
All right. So, the cops find the grad student's body in the building. And they're sitting there talking about this grad student while these slugs are clearly just creeping around that, again, they can't notice anything, so they don't notice it. Meanwhile, Chris and JC are in their dorm, and JC sucks at playing the drums. He's got 2 pencils, and he's like, every beat, he's using both sticks, and it's really, like, you can see the rage building in Chris's face. It's like the one emotion he palpably shows this whole film.
Yeah.
And then Cindy knocks on the door, and she's like, "You want to go for a walk?" He's like, "Anywhere but here." Fuck
That's
this
right.
guy.
Oh, by the way, let me put on my third wheel.
Yep. JC's like, "You're not dodging me that easy."
I'm just like, she could have picked anybody else.
Yep.
She could have picked the fucking dead cat. She could have looked like
I mean, yeah. Else. And that cat was good to go, too.
Yeah. And then JC's like, "I gotta go take a piss somewhere." And so Chris is like, "Let's ditch this dude." And she's like, "All right, but I gotta tell you about, like, the slugs and the dead cat and, the zombies and all that." And Chris, he looked super excited, and then he was like, "Oh, she's fucking nuts." He's like, "Okay, I'm taking you home."
So you understand that the Chinese fabricated the pandemic to make everything. But Chris, where are you going?
Yeah, that's not how 2 towers would fall down when hit by an airplane. That had to be an inside job.
Yeah.
Please believe me. Please believe me.
So, meanwhile, JC in the bathroom. He's scratching something into the stall, by the Monster Squad and Striper. And fucking, the Japanese guy walks in, the janitor.
Wait, also, I believe some of that graffiti said something about Humpty Dumpty being pushed.
Yes, yeah. Speaking of conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
So, the Japanese guy is immediately making unacceptable sound effects in the bathroom.
Yeah.
And JC, who did not lock the stall door, because he likes to live dangerously, immediately just reaches out and opens it and sees that this man's head vagina has indeed ruptured, and there are slugs scooting about.
He keeps leaving the door unlocked, hoping that someday a girl will come into the men's room and just open his stall, and he can prepare his "Do you like what you see?" line.
Mm-hmm.
Or
and in the meantime, he could practice it on dudes that come in the bathroom.
Yes. Yeah. He'll be like, "You can see I'm on crutches. Can you help me get up?"
Mm-hmm. So,
wow, Rob.
Now, JC drops a book of matches, and that's his one thing in this whole ordeal. Well, there's slugs everywhere. He's like, "I gotta get those matches." And I guess his plan is to set off the fire alarm, maybe? I don't know. But he gets the matches, he lights them, he puts them back down, and a slug runs into it. And the slug's just up in smoke. Like, that thing fucking boils and burns. Like, for something that's covered in mucus, that thing went up fast.
Like, my whole thing is this. Like, one, why does he even have matches? Because he doesn't smoke. Like, there's no reason for him to have matches.
It's the 80s. He had matches.
I mean, nothing wrong with that.
All right, my bad. I forgot Tony does all the time, too.
Wow.
But, like, the way he goes for those matches, like, he goes all slow. I'm like, bro, just reach down there and fucking pick him up. What the fuck's wrong with you?
Use your crutch to hit him over to you.
Maybe he had a dangler.
No, although, weirdly, the first time he reaches for him, a slug runs by and he goes, "Ow!" Like, what the hell did it do?
Did it cut him with its little knife?
It made fun of him subtly.
Yeah.
I would have appreciated like a plop noise when he first saw them shits. Like, he's on the toilet, like.
Alright, so, fucking JC, like, he lights his little fire, and then one of these things slithers up his leg, and he just he crawls for it, I guess. He doesn't bother to get his crutches, and he's just crawling away. And you see one of the creeps goes right for his face, and I guess that means JC has been slugged.
Yep.
And he was crawling towards the Monster Squad, which was the correct course of action before he got slugged.
Yes, he doesn't have... Never mind, I was going to say something funny.
Yeah.
I can't even...
Go
Okay,
ahead,
so-
Will.
No, Will.
No,
let it
don't
go.
encourage
Do
him,
it.
Rob. Don't
Did it
encourage him.
involve his gag reflexes?
No.
But here's the
All right.
thing: he started it.
So,
Now he's just a quitter.
mhm.
His business.
So, Chris loses his best friend, but he gains himself a lady friend because Cindy asks him to the formal. And he's like, "You are crazy, but there is a chance that I could hit that, so I'm going."
But Chris, if you think about it one way, I mean, we're the minorities.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking
So,
like she's. It's one of those like she'd have to be crazy to
yeah,
because he's done zero to be at all interesting at all this whole movie.
Maybe he
Like,
comes
zero.
from...
Yeah.
Well, she was attracted. She was
She has to be
attracted
crazy.
to Brad, and he's a piece of garbage. Now she's attracted to this weirdo who's done nothing but be a plank of wood. She is crazy.
Like,
She's
if
got
anything,
some-
like was Joe Wills, like she should have talked to JC. At least he was like
Yeah.
he made jokes and he was like
yeah.
he had some sort of personality, or whatever. Like
Right.
No, there's something with her that gets triggered with helmet hair. She sees that and she's like, I'm
That's
I'm
it.
there. Yeah.
Oh, is that what does
So, now Cameron, Detective Cameron, who's been stalking Chris and Cindy, walking not all that far behind them this whole time, just takes Chris. He's like, "Hi, Spanky," and he takes him back to his apartment to get drunk. And he tells Chris about finding, Pam's killer and, shooting him with a shotgun and burying him under where the sorority mother currently lives. And we cut to the sorority mother, and she is indeed watching Plan 9 from outer space. And does not give a fuck that something is clearly slamming through her floor with an axe.
She's like just sitting there looking at it, like,
Yeah.
what's going on?
Now, I'll give you, until the axe showed up, like, I'd be like, what actually is that? But
No,
then-
I'd be gone. I'd be
Yeah.
gone.
I might call the sorority house and tell one of the girls, see if they could come over. But the moment an axe shows up, I'm like, I'm out. And she waits for a whole nother minute for this zombie corpse to crawl out of the room, walk over to her, and just hit her with an axe.
To be fair, she might have had a dangler.
She might have. So
in that situation, almost assuredly.
Cameron gets the call, and he's like, all right, Chris, I guess I'm leaving you here. I'm grabbing my shotgun, and I'm heading to this crime scene. And you get this pointless scene where, he's on his way to the crime scene. He's like, where's my backup? And then you see, a cop car comes from behind him, and a cop car comes in front of him. And it looks like they're going to try to box him in or something. Like, maybe the cops suddenly are, turning against Cameron. And he's like, oh, there they are. And they just drive to the crime scene. You're like, I didn't need that.
I don't
Yeah.
know
I
what the
like
point of
how-
that was.
I like how his car is
Mhm.
from the fucking 60s.
Dude, his
yeah.
car is
back when
cool
he was a
though.
cop.
That car is cool though.
Mm.
It looks like it should have some big eyes on it.
So
With
Fucking
eyelashes.
Tracy cop
Yeah.
car.
Yeah.
So fucking his elite cops here. All right, they find the corpse. It's been axed, and they're like, we looked around, but we didn't really look that far around. And Cameron's like, well, go fucking get in your car and drive around. And the cops are doing that for 45 seconds. They're like, all right, let's give up. And then all of a sudden they see the fucking ghoul with the axe here. And so they chase it, and the speed and distance of this is weird because they chase it in a cop car, but they corner it in an alley, and the other cops ran on foot, but they got there at the same time. I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird.
The editing's weird.
The
Yeah.
thing can't even run. It's just lumbering.
Yeah.
Like,
So, this corpse is stuck in a dead end, and the cops get out of the car and shoot it a bunch of times with their revolvers, and that makes it into a light bright kind of deal where
what
you
was
see
Yeah, what was up with that?
it was glowing on the inside. I don't know. And then I I was thinking, I'm like, well, Cameron's shotgun should just blow big pieces of it off, so it shouldn't be able to avoid that. Cameron was thinking the same thing, because his shotgun just blows this guy's head up.
Yep.
And slugs fly everywhere and run around, and Cameron's still like, I don't know about these slugs that we're seeing everywhere. I don't think they're linked to anything, but, that was a zombie I just killed. I'm going to go home. And now it cuts to the next day. Chris comes home. He's got his formal supplies. He's got his tux. He's got his corsage. And, he's like, where's JC? And some student's like, I don't know. And then he's like, all right, well, I'm going to go spend the rest of the day getting ready for the formal. And then we get the two getting ready for formal montages.
It's like
complete with pointless shower titties.
Yeah, it's kind of like the
No,
Ghostbusters.
they had points. They're called nipples.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Wow.
I kind of made that joke already. But
Anyway.
yeah, so it's kind of like the Ghostbusters 2 montage, where you kind of see like slugs are taking over stuff, and then it cuts to what it would be the Ghostbusters getting ready, but instead it's women bathing. It's just weird.
And guys horsing around.
And guys horsing around.
Just locker
Yeah.
room antics,
Just
and you
jacking it.
Those mullets,
Each
those
other.
mullets get all like greased down and like, turned into even nastier haircuts.
Oh yeah.
And like, both the men and women in this scene are not looking good by the end of it. And then we cut to Chris, who's also dolled himself up. And when he just now notices there's a tape recorder on JC's desk with a note that says, listen to me.
He's been home for fucking hours.
Hours.
Yeah.
That felt very Resident Evil like, where it's like,
Yeah.
a tape recorder that explains the plot.
That tape recorder has probably twinkled like 100 times since he's been in this tiny ass room. You should know it's there.
And it keeps saying the room is not like 100% completed, and he's like, I've looked for everything.
Yeah.
He just keeps hitting the door handle. He's like,
I can't progress in the storyline. I don't know why.
Maybe like Resident Evil, the camera angle's just weird as hell, and you're like he didn't know that he could step to the one part of the room and it would show the top-down view of the desk where you see the recorder.
which thumbstick shows the camera?
So JC's like, there's a slug in me. I still have control somehow. I think I'm dead, but they don't like fire, so I'm going to go down to the furnace, and that's about it. And then you hear a weird slug noise.
Well,
Oh,
he says,
no. JC tells him he loves him,
I love you.
which, good
I've
on
always
him.
loved you.
Good on
Yeah.
him. I get that now.
My brain was like, okay, if the slug noise is on the tape, how did he put the tape recorder in the room?
Mm,
Good
He-
question.
How
made-
did anything in this movie?
he made the slug hold the tape recorder.
He also maintained his humanity with a slug in him way more than anyone else does.
That's actually a slug in the tape deck rather than a cassette.
But yeah, later on, we'll see in this movie, one girl gets it in a matter of seconds. She's a zombie.
Yep.
So he was doing pretty good.
So, now JC goes down and sees the burnt corpse. Chris goes down and finds JC's burnt corpse and a lot of burnt slugs. And, so Brad, meanwhile, he goes over and he gets all drunk outside the sorority house, and he's getting ready to give Cindy a piece of his mind. When a doggy comes up,
Aw.
it's the doggy from the sorority mom.
Oh boy.
I love that puppet.
It's
boy.
it's a special puppet.
Oh boy.
It's like
And
one of the animatronics from Pirates of the Caribbean that they
It might
never
as well be.
refurbished.
It might as well just have the keys
And
in
these
its
things,
mouth.
they're perfect shots. They just fire what I believe Rob described before as a mouth poop directly out of their throat and into yours.
Yep.
Like there's no like spitting motion. It's just like patoo, like it's out of there. And all the time, 100%, like without fail. Like no one just
100%
gets
accuracy.
yeah, like a slug
yeah.
bouncing off their forehead, and then the second slug makes it in their mouth or anything. And everyone in this movie is a fucking mouth breather, so they're all vulnerable.
Very true.
I'm wondering if somewhere there's like outtakes of them just throwing slugs at people's faces and be like, nah, it don't look right. No, it don't look right.
Hold on, I gotta re-wet it.
Yeah.
Spray it down. Spray it down.
I really hope so.
Not even like the slugs swarm you and crawl up you and like you like fight some off while one crawls down your throat or something like that. No, they just perfectly land in your mouth. So now, after he gets slugged, we cut to what I've referred to as the bang bus, which is all of the
That's what it was
frat
gonna be.
bros.
I just called it a loaf of white bread.
Yes, that is also true. Because all these frat bros get on, and one of them's like, I wrote it down. We're going to get done, dudes.
Oh,
I'm like,
Nice.
who actually talks like that?
yeah. It's fitting. This is called Night of the Creeps because my skin actually crawled when I heard
Yeah,
Yep.
maybe it's not about
Yeah.
the slugs.
that. Yeah.
Maybe that title is misleading.
Now, Detective Cameron has a good idea that he has zero commitment to, so he's duct taped his
Wow.
entire door shut.
He's got a
Right.
couple of ideas.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So he duct tapes his entire door shut, which is okay, cool. Slugs can't get in. Someone
Oh,
knocks
that's
at the
not
door.
for the slugs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's
Yeah.
like, he doesn't even ask who it is. He's like, fuck it. He just takes all the tape down and opens the door. And it's sad, Chris. And he's like, JC's dead. We got to light them on fire.
He thought it was his next DoorDash with his final meal of red and brown, red meat and brown
Yeah.
liquor.
And so, I just now put together that
Yeah.
Cameron was trying to kill himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I get why he goes to the stove and turns all the valves on.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. And
I
closes
totally-
the door.
Totally
Yeah.
didn't catch that. All right.
I
So,
will
anyway.
say, in all fairness, while watching this, I realized that whenever I saw this as a kid, I had never gotten that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know I didn't.
So anyway, he's like, all right, I guess I'm not killing myself today.
Yeah.
Or at least not yet.
Yeah.
Let's go fucking kill some slugs.
Like,
Wanna
you
do
know
a twofer,
how, what's his name shows up and he's like, Alfalfa's dead?
Mhm.
It made me be like, whatever happened to the guy that played Alfalfa in,
Oh,
Hold
don't
on.
look that up.
No,
He got
it'll
arrested
pay off.
last
Hold
week.
on. It'll pay off. Hold on. Like, damn it. I took a screenshot. So the guy that played Alfalfa in the Little Rascals movie got arrested, and he was like from huffing too much like of the duster spray that you like clean out keyboards with.
Oh.
And the person I saw post it like in the comments underneath, the first comment was a gif of Spanky from the original TV show being like, "Oh no!" Gave me a good chuckle.
All right.
Sorry.
I don't want to bring in current politics, but you got to mention defund the police when they have a flamethrower that you could requisition. There's a form at the police station to get the flamethrower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you have to
Yo.
check a box that says you're not going to use this on anybody.
Useful for, detective work.
Yeah.
It's my investigation flamethrower. I guess it's
Right.
the cover-up flamethrower. I
Yeah.
guess that makes sense.
You gotta, burn evidence and shit,
I also love how it was just so matter of fact. Like, I do need these forms, but you don't worry, you're totally getting your flamethrower. Not like, what the fuck do you need that for?
Yeah, and it's been used enough that Mr. fucking Futterman was just like, "Wow, oh, the trigger's a bitch. Watch out! Like, it doesn't
Yeah.
work sometimes on the pilot light. Like, okay, I guess."
Now,
So-
in all fairness, Joe,
Mhm.
if you had access to a flamethrower, you would probably use it more often than
I'd be
realize.
dead right now. I'd be on fire. Like, I would use it and throw caution to the wind, and everything would be on fire, including me.
Well,
So-
I just looked
Don't
at
give
the
me
image.
a flamethrower.
Right?
I like that he's got a big friggin' Hamburglar costume on, too.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So
Dumpster huffing.
yeah, so Mr. Futterman's like, "You got a requisition form?" And he's like, "Well, I got a shotgun."
And no reasons.
Yep.
Nope.
So, should we call it? Now, the bang bus is driving along, and the guys inside are just being incorrigible. They're like popping open beers and throwing stuff at each other, and they're hooting and hollering and throwing their feces around and
Hot tub,
breaking
hot tub,
around the
hot
bus.
tub.
And then the driver's like, I'll turn this bus around. No one's getting laid tonight. And then he looks around and there's a fucking dead dog in the road that he swerves to avoid.
There's
and crashes.
something in the road.
There's a stuffed animal in the road.
Yeah.
There's a
crashes
for real
into
friends.
What appears to be a tow truck or like similar style car driving at a 45-degree angle, like across the road. I don't know. The bus is fucked. You know, everyone crashes. And sure enough, the dog walks into the bang bus.
Not the sentence you ever want to hear.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a sausage party and dogs love
Yeah.
sausage.
Oh, God.
Sausage
I don't
party.
know how many slugs could fit inside that dog, but it's an awful lot. It's more than you think.
Good thing
Well-
it's a raccoon, you know?
Yeah, Joe, you were just talking about raccoons and certain stretching abilities.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it turns out it's a lot.
I don't like how they actually shaved that fucking dog.
Mhm.
Like its legs were like shaved to look all like fucked up.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. They gave
So-
it kind of like a poodle do.
Yeah.
Doodle poo.
It'll
So
grow
now-
back.
I don't know.
Cameron, I'm sorry, no, this is Zombie Brad is going to the sorority house right now.
Yeah.
And shows up, knocks on the door. Sorority person doesn't even notice that Brad is spray painted gray. Is just like, all right, let me get Cindy.
Yeah.
Then Cindy comes up, doesn't even look at Brad, just
Nope.
walks out with him, holds his hand, and sits down next to him.
Well, she's mad at him.
Yep. And explains, that why their relationship's over. And Zombie Brad's just like, he's trying to talk, and instead he's just vomiting slugs out, which is more compelling than what he would normally say anyway.
I feel like she should have known something was up for the fact that he was letting her talk. I feel like Brad
Yeah.
would let her talk.
Exactly. She might get a few words out before I was like, all right, I'm going to stop you right there.
Yeah.
So
he's totally that guy.
Listen,
Cameron-
babe, I'm going to tell you how you feel right now.
Cameron and Chris show up. I'm pretty sure they didn't even check to see if Brad was a zombie or not.
I mean, would you?
He just immediately gets the flamethrower.
Yep.
And this flamethrower is really underwhelming. Like military flamethrower. I mean, that house would be on fire, like just from this first shot. Like it's not like your face would be on fire. It's like you're on fire. You're just consumed in flames from one of those.
Once
this-
upon a time in Hollywood, this is not, okay?
Yeah, but this is like a little squirt gun blowtorch. It's an angry blowtorch. So Cameron's like, all right, you and Cindy sit here with the flamethrower. I'm gonna go inside and
says-
just start whooping ass.
Chris says to Cindy, hold this, you'll feel better. And stuffs the freaking shotgun in her hands.
So and then, but
What you want for a
the very
traumatized
next
girl.
scene, she's got the flamethrower.
She's got,
out.
for reasons I could not possibly explain
Yeah.
to you.
Well, in this world, because the flamethrower is so underwhelming, you have to shotgun the zombies first, then flamethrower them.
Makes
It's
sense.
a 2-hit combo.
Because we all know that fire cannot penetrate human skin or bone.
No.
Also, the reason seems pretty clear. He's trying to cheer her up.
Yep.
Okay.
I found it funny how when JC made that tape saying the plot basically, he was like fire hurts him, fire kills him. I'm like, that's the first fucking thing you tried. Try something else
Yeah.
too. Maybe step on
Yeah.
and die too.
That's a
Like,
good
Yeah.
point.
Guess
Has
what?
anyone stepped on any of them?
Any organic creature doesn't like it when you apply fire to it. Like, there's very few that do well under those conditions.
Put salt on them.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, just step on it. Get a hockey stick. Like,
Sodium.
anyway, so, all of the zombie frat bros are now coming towards the sorority house. Their plans for the evening have not changed.
Correct.
I do like the skinless face was a decent enough makeup effect. I got to give that one, props. And we get like a fight scene where Cameron and Cindy, Chris and Cindy are double teaming these zombies.
Yes, if you want to call it that.
And then Cameron inside, like he's shooting up these zombies coming in, and then using hairspray and a lighter to kill the slugs. But that study girl, unfortunately, she's been slugged, and she grabs him and throws him to the ground. And, he thinks he's dead because there's 2 frat boy zombies coming in, but he looks up and he sees the picture of Pam on the wall. And he levels up
for whatever reason
and learns spin attack. Because he just
it's gun kata.
Is gun kata.
This is my favorite part of the movie because he just goes on full murder rage mode, and it's spectacular.
the last 15 minutes of it is bonkers.
Yeah, while clearly pivoting on a turntable.
Oh yeah.
And
But it's funny, like watching this movie. And I'll save it.
yeah. So, now we encounter the shed scene. And if there was someone who was like, remember the shed scene from Commando? I could do it worse. As this movie. So, first off, Chris with the shotgun, can't even get that padlock off.
I mean,
it's sad looking.
That would imply that he's trying.
Yeah.
It looks like somebody told him that if he scratches the paint on either the shed or the lock, he's fired.
They might have.
So he's just flaccidly tapping the butt of the shotgun against this lock, and then suddenly smash cut. Oh, they're inside the shed.
Mm-hmm. And then they close the door, and so the zombies start breaking in, and one of them reaches through and grabs Chris, and Cindy just shoves the flamethrower in his face, and that guy's on fire. Then one, reaches through and grabs Cindy, and Chris is like, I'm useless. And
Maybe I'll read a book.
Yeah, Cindy gets pulled through the damn wall.
I have to work on my thesis.
Who, could have easily, with their pinpoint accuracy, has fired a slug in her mouth by now, but I guess she breathes through her nose, so she's safe. And she, Chris is starting up a lawnmower, and you're like, this is going to be cool. God. He's pulling that cord, and then he tells Cindy to get out of there. And she's like, oh, I could just get away from the zombie.
Okay. All right,
I'll just do it.
Oh, that was an option.
Yeah. And he's
now
coming in with the
finally
lawnmower.
been given permission.
And I'm like, how hard would it be to just take a stake, put a presidential mask or something shitty like that on it, maybe a real crappy wig, and just run that over with a lawnmower just to see what happens, right? I don't need this effect to look great, but what I sure don't need is the 80s equivalent of CGI blood, which is fucking unacceptable.
Cartoon blood.
Yeah, it's a cartoon, yeah.
I expected,
For me, I'm like, for the scene, I'm like, bruh, it took you a whole minute to get the lawnmower started. You could have walked over to her, picked him up off of her, and ran away.
You could just hit him with the lawnmower and it probably would have killed him.
Yeah.
The time it took, he could have disassembled the lawnmower, taken the blade off, and used it as a hand weapon.
It was a whole minute on screen.
So
whole minute.
Of this dude pulling the cord halfway and you being like, use your muscles, you little bitch.
I would be okay with it if we actually saw something get lawnmowered. It only had to be slightly person-like, and I would have been okay with it. But no, we get the shittiest payoff.
Could have been the dog puppet.
Yeah.
Could have been a slug. Could have anything.
I almost would have accepted just have a blood splatter, throw some fake blood against the shed wall, and you're good. But they couldn't even be bothered with that. Yeah.
No, the dude had a splatter Cindy with it.
Yeah.
Because she was wearing all white too. So
yeah, I have a sneaking suspicion that they wanted to do that, and someone else was like, no.
Yeah,
it could be maybe they filmed this at somebody's house, and they were like, okay, don't scratch up my shed, don't mess up my lawnmower. No blood.
Now, meanwhile, they're like, okay, well that takes care of everybody, and they see the slugs are going in the basement. They're like, I wonder what's in the basement. And Cindy's like, oh, a big old box of brains. So we got to go in the basement.
So
I do like the scene of Chris and Cindy walking in the house just going, get out of the house. And they have a shotgun and a flamethrower.
Well, here's my problem with this.
Yeah.
He's saying, get out of the house, get out of the house, get out of the house now. I'm like, you were just attacked by zombies. And then we got saved when this crazy cop came in and just shot everything.
As far as
within his eye line.
As far as I know, he's still spinning around in a circle in the study lounge.
I would have been out of that house long ago.
That's how he got down to the basement so fast. He did one of those underworld bulls.
with a revolver.
But Chris isn't even like, get out of the house. He's like, get out of the house.
All right, so
Hey, guys.
No, he's doing it stern, but he's not yelling.
Get out
He's
of
just
the
like,
house.
Get out. Get out. Get
So-
out.
Run, stop, get out of the house.
we go downstairs into this filthy, dusty basement, and you see Cameron, and he's got his mouth duct tape closed, which I'm pretty sure the director did because he was trying to tell them, don't look in the corner at the jankiest special effect you will ever see.
It's a bunch of trash bags, and we twist-tied some parts so they look like they're wiggling.
It was so bad.
I've
Be
seen
trapped.
worse, but yeah, this is.
But I remember, I forgot what episode it was of the podcast I was listening to recently. Oh, it was Superman 4, where Rob was asking, like, how could you have the Statue of Liberty fly around the city like that? And John was trying to explain how they physically did it. And Rob was like, no, I mean, how could you sleep at night? Put that in a movie.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at here. I'm like, if you knew this is what you had, you gotta abort. You gotta abort.
Cut the goblins. Put some more money into this corner.
Yeah.
Well,
the man pile, the slug pile.
KY jelly up some trash bags that you put pillows in. I don't know. Anything but
No.
what we got here.
Well, here's the thing. This is why I'm a bit torn with some of this, not to, get too ahead of things here, but because, again, intentionally making, like, a tribute to B movies. So was this a limited budget, or was this we want to make this look like the lamest shit we could?
Yeah, but that's where you get into the happening territory, and it's not, you can't go there.
I think it's using the latter as an excuse for the former.
That's fair.
So the this thing, it's animated, but it's animated so that there's like the moving part and the not moving part, and everything on the moving part looks like it was copied and pasted the same way, so that like every one of those slugs that moves the same way at the same time.
It looks like a character from Clay Fighters.
Yeah. Fucking what was the Ichabod Crane represent? That was my dude.
Hell yeah.
So then fucking Chris and Cindy see that and they're like, and we're just leaving. Like Chris tries to use the flamethrower. Flamethrower's like, there's no special effect that's gonna work here.
Now, so these brains are
Nothing
like,
saving this scene. Come on.
presumably these brains are in like formaldehyde or some sort of like preservative.
Yep.
So they're just whatever. It just works.
It ain't fire.
Okay.
And
It's
like
true.
there were
It ain't
only like
shotgun.
there were like 12 of them in that box.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
and there's like 400 of these slugs.
Yeah.
Like there are more people outside. You think they'd go after all the people?
It's within seconds. Like, have they been down there this whole time doing this, or is this just now?
And what are they doing in there?
Good question.
Like, is that like they lay eggs in brains? So, I mean, I guess that's just a big fuck pile. I don't know.
That's what JC said, that they lay eggs in the brains and the bodies move around while they incubate.
Yep.
But like,
All right.
Yeah.
So fucking like Cameron's like, get out of here. The special effects suck too much. I'll give you a countdown. And he starts spreading gasoline on things that are not the big slug pile because no
Correct.
one wants to show that again.
nope.
And then Chris, who cannot, at least Cindy's presumably in heels and a prom dress. Like Chris can't. He needed that full 20 count to get out of the house.
I'm pretty sure he's the one that needed the crutches.
Yeah.
two things with all this. One is, yeah, I feel bad for Tom Atkins because he's throwing around that gasoline like, you're going to put something good in post here, right? And I'm like, sure we are.
Yeah.
But also, number two is, why did it take so long? Because the minute you go down there and he's tossing around gasoline with tape on his mouth going, go, leave. Don't wait for him to explain his plan.
I don't feel bad for Tom Atkins, and 2 words will tell you why.
What?
Knowing wink.
Okay.
So he lights the fire, and the sorority. Okay, no, hold on. Before, as he lights the fire, the slug pile launches like 20 slugs simultaneously at him in a wall of slugs. like a whole fusillade of these things launches at him, and then it cuts to an explosion. And well, it's conflagration at best. It's really not a very impressive burning down of the sorority house.
I mean, it looks more like what would actually have happened.
Yeah.
Because like all the explosions that we see in movies are not what actually would happen.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and they're normally like well engineered gasoline explosions, and this looked like a haphazardly done gasoline fire, which is what it actually was.
Yeah.
So,
Well, chances are this literally was that, and someone just got a small house that they could burn.
mhm.
So for the movie.
So now Chris and Cindy they make out sort of
why?
over the burning sorority, and it's like
Fires get her hot,
Yeah.
Brian.
Cindy
So-
attempts to make out with him, and he's like, I'm not really into it. I'm trying to give me a mouth slug. Oh.
I think Chevy Chase helped this kid manage his his demands for these movies. Like, make sure you get to kiss the girl,
Mhm.
or you're not gonna do it.
So,
I'm Chevy Chase.
then, like, that's basically it for them. But we cut to
Ugh,
Burnt Cameron,
yeah.
and he goes walking over a little bit, smoking, and dies. And
Kinda
then some
crispy.
slugs come out of his head, and they go into a cemetery nearby. And you're like, okay, sure, they're gonna go reanimate some corpses, I guess. And then, for no reason, UFO spotlight, and the alien ship is there.
And it's the freaking cemetery from Beetlejuice because it's the most
Mhm.
fakest looking,
Yeah,
It
fake
sure
ass
is.
model
It's
you
all
could
rip-off.
ever friggin' imagine.
roll them credits.
Roll that beautiful bean footage.
So that was Night of the Creeps. Tony, what does the internets say about this film?
Well, at the time this movie came out, I kind of referenced the fact that it did not do very well. Critics were not fond of it, and audiences didn't seem to care either. But on RottenTomatoes.com, a more current rating, critics had this at a 74%. Audiences have it at a 70%. That's their thoughts and opinions. What about you and yours, Will?
Sure. So I enjoyed this movie. I liked it a bit more than the zombie movie we reviewed a couple weeks ago. Held my attention a bit better. I felt like the story actually moved, despite not really liking the quote-unquote protagonist that they decided. I enjoyed it. I like the kind of weird 50s throwback at the beginning. It's kind of in between like a parody spoof movie and like an homage to like all the famous zombie movies of the 50s and 60s and 70s. So I had a good time watching it. It kept my interest. So I'll give it a slight recommend.
Tony, are you there?
I was like, did I fit
Sorry?
them all?
Yeah,
You hear me?
Tony.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you are.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Were you able to hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
like, I heard you. So, Brian.
So again, this is my fault. This movie. Like I think as a kid, my brain only focused on the last 15 minutes of this movie because the first like 45 minutes of this movie was just fucking boring. I'm sorry, I was bored as fuck. For the first part, and because all this character stuff that doesn't really matter. I mean, like the scenes lasted a bit too long. As an adult now, I can appreciate that a little bit more, I guess, because I see what they're like hearing what Tony said about this being potentially being a spoof on whatever. Like now, so that something makes more sense after like thinking about it. Like the whole the cop guy, whatever the fuck his name is. Like
Tom Atkins.
yeah, his character like really is the epitome of all the shitty cops in all those movies where you wish they would just fucking give up, or whatever. You know what I mean? Like.
Yep.
He's at the point where he's fucking crazy himself. He's about to fucking kill himself. Like the job is too much for him. Like he's going out. Like it's a lot for him. So like after hearing Tony saying it's supposed to be like that kind of shit, I kind of get it now. But like watching this movie, man, I was fucking bored as fuck. And like I wouldn't want to subject someone else to watching this unless like they really want to watch a spoof or whatever. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend this I wouldn't watch this again, and I'm sorry.
That's kind of how I felt about the movie a couple weeks ago, like just totally bored. And like I said at my review then, I don't know if it's just like, different headspace. Like we finally got the AC installed in my apartment now, so I can actually like relax and pay attention to stuff. But yeah, it's cool that we all have different thoughts.
All right. Joe.
So I would like to actually just slightly push my review of Return to Living Dead from light not recommend to light recommend, because seeing that movie compared to one of its peers bumped it up retroactively. So this movie, I'm going to say, is a light not recommend. There's a lot of fun parts in it, but they are mostly in the third act. And those slugs, it's just hard to watch. It's just like, you want to give it a bit of a pass in the parody category, but you got to do better than those slugs. And yeah, I like Detective Cameron's character, and I liked JC despite his faults, but like, fucking Chris and I guess Cindy was okay. But long story short, like, the movie just didn't hold my interest. And up until the part where he went to the police station and got a flamethrower, then I'm like, all right, I'm on board now. I want to see where this craziness goes. But that's really the third act. So, yeah, I would say this is a not recommend. It might be so bad it's good if it wasn't for all these weird, like, slugs flying in mouths. That's a little too gross for me. And then the special effect being so awful does not help. So yeah, that's I'm gonna say not recommend.
All right, Rob.
So it's funny because I agree with just about everybody here. I have
do that, yeah.
Yeah, I have very different tastes than some of you guys, and it's fun to see like how our opinions on the same movie can differ so greatly. Because I feel like this movie failed in what it was trying to do, which was intentionally be a B movie, and instead ended up just being a B movie. If that makes sense. The acting is not good from anybody, except maybe Tom Atkins, but even that is kind of a stretch. Because like his stupid catchphrases sound like an Animal Crossing character, where it's like every time they just say, thrill me. I agree the beginning of this movie is pretty boring, but the last part of the movie almost makes up for it. And B movies are kind of my thing. So I still hated the last horror movie that we watched because it was like a parody of horror movies written by somebody that just didn't know how to write comedy, I feel. But then this one is more of like it's just a dumb, bad movie. And on that merit, I can give it a very light watch it once and never again. And that's where I stand on it. It's the lightest of recommends. It's just tickling the balls there.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same camp as Rob. I enjoy B movies. I appreciate all the ways this is a send up to the B movies. But it is in that weird thing where I don't know how much some of this is that thing of us trying to be a B movie and putting in these cliches and doing things with a limited budget, and how much of it is we just don't know how to write better, or we don't have a better budget, or so on. So it's hard to say, but ultimately it still kind of becomes a B movie that's good in a bad way, or bad in a good way, however you want to look at that. So I guess it's hard to, I don't know what to call it, a light recommend, I guess. Cause yeah, if you're into this kind of thing, you're probably gonna enjoy it. If you like B movies, you might find some fun in it. If you like, cheesy special effects, or you like zombies or whatever, you might get some fun out of it, especially, yeah. Again, the latter half or later half of this movie is way better. And as I said before, most of the time liking it as a kid, I had seen it, further into the movie, so I didn't remember the duller parts. But yeah, if you're already like, no, doesn't hold any interest to me, it's not going to turn you over. It's not going to change your mind. So if you know what you're getting into, give it a shot. Otherwise, you're fine. All right, since
Congrats, you've made a fully skippable movie.
we are low tier at best in recommending this movie. Do we want to recommend something else instead?
Yeah, go watch Little Shop of Horrors. That was like a B movie send up, and that was great.
I mean, there's good zombie movies out there, but yeah, we can go with Little Shop of Horrors.
So I doubt we'll be reviewing any more zombie movies in the near future unless the D20 subjects it. I'm not an expert on the genre. What are some people would like recommend if someone was like starting out?
Starting out?
Or just, like, I don't know. Whatever.
Zombie Nightmare.
I mean, if you want to go into more recent, like 2000s, like 28 Days Later was real good.
Yeah.
The remake of Dawn of the Dead, I remember really liking. The original I've never really seen.
Yeah, they're both.
What's the one in the shopping mall with Ving Rhames?
That's Dawn of the Dead.
Okay.
Ving Rhames is the remake Joe was talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, I think both of those I would need to revisit to fully land on recommending or not.
That's a good point.
Maybe it should be an episode.
Yeah, it has been over a decade since I've seen both. So yeah, maybe they need to go on the list if they're not already.
Is Ving Rhames also wearing a pharaoh costume in that movie?
I don't believe so.
It's unfortunate.
Wasted opportunity right there.
So, guys, we have an email.
What?
It's not specifically podcast related, but I just wanted to put it out there because it has some information that I feel is worth sharing. So it's from William, the one from California, not the one we have on the show.
William!
Hey, Will.
He is working on another episode comment email.
Okay.
So he just wanted to let us know that Google is shutting down Google Music and moving everything over to YouTube Music, where he says you have to subscribe to even Chromecast/Googlecast to your own Google Home speakers. So you'd have to subscribe to YouTube Music, from what he's read.
Yeah.
So I don't know how true that is. If you guys have, if you listeners have other information, definitely email us and let us know if there's something different about that we're not catching. But it says you also have to subscribe if you want to download music to your phone or tablet, and if I remember correctly, to even play your own uploaded music. And he says, anyway, Google Music going away, my usual podcast app is also going away, and even if podcasts are transferred to YouTube Music, he's not going to use the service. So he wants to know where else can he find us? And that is a great question, William. At the end of every episode, I do mention Podbean. Podbean actually has their very own app. It's the site that we host our podcast on, and I actually have been using the Podbean app on my phone to do all of my podcast listening. And
That's what I use too.
Yeah, I think it's great. I've had no problems with it, and this is not sponsored content because we actually pay them. They don't pay us.
They are overlords.
But if they'd like to throw us some money, we will not say no.
Definitely not.
We like them enough that we have no problem giving them our money.
Correct. Yes. So the Podbean app has been great. You can sort by older episodes, newer episodes. I believe that through the Podbean app, you also might get all of our episodes. I don't know if there's.
I was just gonna say.
Yeah, I believe you do.
So that's handy.
Archive.
Because I know on a lot of those, like iTunes and stuff like that, it'll cut it off at like 50 or 100 episodes or whatever. So yeah, I would definitely recommend the Podbean app. But we are available on any app that can play podcasts, as far as I'm aware. So any one of those should be fine. But
Spotify. Also.
Yeah,
Stitcher, I believe we're on as well.
Yep.
And think about it this way: we work real hard for the meager amount of resources that we have. We watch some stuff that's just bad. There's no way around it, right? To get that money for the sponsored episodes. Mm-hmm. So where we choose to put that money to have our content up is important because we've been through shit to get that money. And we choose to give it to podbean.com.
Yeah, I mean they've been great to us. We've had no problems, and yeah, I have no problem kind of hawking their wares. So I hope that answers your question. Again, if anybody else has a question for us or an update on this whole Google Music nonsense, please email us at the4ampodcast@gmail.com. And other than that, I think that's it. Guys, we want to thank you so much for listening. If you like what you heard, please subscribe. And tell you what, if you got some free time, which a lot of you probably do, why don't you go and throw us a rating on iTunes? That'd be real handy. You can also, I think, rate us on Podbean.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So do that too, because we love those ratings. Also, the more ratings we have, good or bad, grows our visibility on the interwebs, so it'll make it easier for people to find us. And because I'm really bad at tagging, that's very helpful. So think about doing that. For our episode archive, merchandise store, and more information about us, check out our website at 4ampodcast.podbean.com. That's PODBEAN, like a bean, and pod, like a podcast. You can contact us, of course, on Twitter or Facebook at 4ampodcast. And I already mentioned the email at the4ampodcast@gmail.com. And if you want to help support what we do directly, please consider becoming a Patreon member at patreon.com/4ampodcast. Am I missing anything, guys?
No, I think that covers it.
Yeah, that does it.
Yeah.
Got anything else you want to say?
Wear your masks, please.
Yeah.
Breathe through your nose. You don't want anyone coughing a slug into your mouth.
It's true, but if you're wearing a mask,
Which,
you should be
if,
all right.
if they wore their mask in the first place, that slug wouldn't even be a problem.
That's true.
Or duct tape your mouth shut. We will accept that.
Wash your hands. Go shopping one at a time.
Oh, and if you wear your mask, put it over your nose.
If you have a slug in your mouth, that counts as 2 people. So stay home.
That's right. That's right. I'm pretty sure that counts as virus.
Yes,
So stay
that
home
does
anyway.
count as virus. Stay home.
But anyway,
Be good to people. Don't go
Yeah.
firing your slugs off all over the place. Just be good.
guys,
Yeah.
thank you so much. We love you all. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Deuces.
Adios.
Good night, everybody.
Blah.